where each letter stands for a topic and essential tool to help you get ahead in life. Meet Jules and Mark, creators of the multi-award-winning Future Toolbox, and enjoy their straightforward approach to creating growth mindsets that help people turn their dreams into realities. Whether you're a teen in education, a parent, a teacher, or part of a community group, start creating positive habits from today.
Hello and welcome to our latest Z to A podcast with myself, Jules and Mark, from the multi-award-winning Future Toolbox.
Hello everybody and welcome back.
As always, this is where we pick a letter from the alphabet and choose a subject and discuss how you can use our tools to improve your own personal development and life. So Mark, enlighten us on this episode's letter.
Well, this letter's episode is M, and not M for Mark, but it's M for Metamorphosis. Ooh. It's quite a long word, isn't it?
It is, you did well, you said it.
Did well to say that. So Metamorphosis, I remember learning about this in school in science, and it was one of those things that I was really interested in because it is basically the process of transformation from an immature to an adult in two or more distinctive stages.
Wow.
Now, obviously, I looked that bit up and read it out there because there's some quite big words in there. In a nutshell, if you think about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, there's two distinctive stages in that insect's change in life. Likewise, a tadpole could become a frog or a toad or a newt. And I remember learning all about this. Plants go through this process as well when they grow from a seed into a plant and a tree or whatever it may be as well.
Vegetable.
Or vegetable, yeah.
Yes, or something, or fruit. I love the idea of the butterfly metaphor because I think it's all about symbolising that journey of growth and change, which is something here at the Future Toolbox we're very passionate about. Certainly growth in terms of personal development and growing yourself, but sometimes to grow you may need to change things as well. So it's a really good topic. So human metamorphosis is about a change or a transformation, and it could be within your mind, how you think, it could be your beliefs, it could be your language, your thoughts, your character. It could involve a shift in thinking patterns and perspectives and a more positive mental state.
And if you think about it, as humans, we do actually go through the metamorphosis process because it starts with pregnancy, goes into a baby being born, then you have a toddler, then a child, then a teen, then we become adults.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot more about what you just mentioned there, the metamorphosis of the mind, of the habits and the change of the person once they become conscious of change.
Do you know, one of the things that you just mentioned there, and I forget this, and I shouldn't, being a mother, when you're pregnant, how amazing that metamorphosis is and how those cells change rapidly and women build. I don't think that's the right word, but it's, create this person inside them. Metamorphosis from those little cells to a human being and give birth, and then it's that lifelong journey of change, isn't it?
It is fascinating. There is probably 1 billion to 1 chance that we actually exist in the form that we exist as a person, so we're all very, very unique, aren't we?
And it's not just humans, obviously animals do exactly the same thing, but it's a fascinating subject.
Yeah, if it's on this planet and it's alive, it's probably been through some kind of metamorphosis. So how do we go through these stages in our life? Well, you mentioned about growth throughout life, and this is not just about us growing physically, becoming from a baby to an adult. This is all about growing as a person and growing our mind, maybe our knowledge. It could be growing our confidence. It could be growing towards achieving a goal or something that we want in life. And it's about taking those small steps, which again is something we talk massively about at the Future Toolbox.
I remember reading up about this at one point, and as you quite rightly say, we all experience metamorphosis quite a few times really through our lives. So we've changed, like you said, from a baby to a child and then to an adolescent to an adult. Now those are quite obvious ones and sort of well recognised stages, but even after you're grown up, your identity is not fixed. You still change. You know, you could change and get married. For a woman, that means taking on quite often the husband's name, for example. But then you then can become the parent, or you can switch careers. You could win the lottery and then go from having not a lot of money to huge amounts of money. There's so many changes throughout your lifespan.
Yeah, it's very true. And sometimes as well, we focus again on the big things. And we've talked a lot in recent times at the Future Toolbox about focusing on the little changes as well. You talked about winning the lottery, and winning the lottery is massive because you go from maybe not having a lot of money to a lot of money just like that. And we focus a lot on those types of life goals or life changes. But sometimes it could be that small decision that takes you on a new journey or takes you on a new path. Now, I remember back in those early days, and again, we've mentioned this probably in a previous podcast, about how our journey started working in schools. And I remember one day seeing a school speaker, and the audience were pretty much eating out of his hands. Everything he said, they were hanging on. And I just suddenly decided that day that I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be able to give that inspiration to people. And I don't know what it was that made me want to do that. It wasn't being popular. It wasn't being adored or being worshipped on stage or anything. It was that moment of seeing people going, wow, this works, and being able to give that wisdom to other people. Now, obviously, I didn't become a school speaker the next day. It took a very, very long time to build that journey, build that confidence, make the decision to become self-employed, make the decision to leave the job that was comfortable, make the decision to stand on stage for the first time, and make the decision to make mistakes and come back from them. But sometimes it is that moment of decision which will actually change your life. And the journey, that idea that I started with right in that first day, wasn't the journey of where we are today. That's changed a lot and has gone through various phases of metamorphosis, so to speak.
That has been an amazing journey. And I remember the very first time that I saw you in action in a school, I was absolutely gobsmacked because I know you as something different. I know you as my partner, my life partner, my husband, my best friend, everything. And then all of a sudden you metamorphosized into this person on this stage, capturing this whole audience. And you had them in the palm of your hands. I was like absolutely mesmerised by it. It was incredible. And then there was obviously the change within the business, and I joined it. And you were saying, oh, you can join me on stage. I was not a chance. Will you get me up there? Public speaking. And it took a while.
Yeah.
But my confidence grew, and I metamorphosized into being able to support you and public speak.
Yeah, and without sounding too cheesy, I felt exactly the same when I saw you start speaking on stage and see your confidence growing as well. But then it became authors, it became podcasts, it became recording online programs, it became setting up a social enterprise, launching a brain injury program. So we've gone through a lot of stages and a lot of changes. But a lot of that has come from being brave to think, right, I'm going to do that. To pick up a guitar and learn to play it, to sing on stage, to pick up some drums and play those, to decide to run a marathon, to decide to do all of these really exciting things, emigrate to another country, travel the world, all the stuff that you want to do in life always starts with one thing and one decision. And it's about having the ability and the bravery to actually follow that decision and think, right, how can I make this work in my life?
Yeah, it's making that transformation change, isn't it? And evolution. I mean, the whole world is changing constantly, and you don't necessarily sit back and think to yourself, wow, I've changed into what I am now, whatever that might be, because you quite often just naturally do it without thinking, I'm metamorphosizing into a public speaker or into a runner or a singer or whatever it might be. But as human beings, we do like to challenge ourselves, or sometimes we either challenge ourselves or we're put in a situation where we're challenged, and then we have to dig deep and possibly change something. Now, we've had to do that on a number of occasions through, obviously, your brain injury, my cancer diagnosis. I think you also have to change sometimes through bereavement. Having lost both my parents, and in the last 18 months you lost your dad, that does change you as a person as well, because I remember thinking at that time when I'd lost both my parents, I felt very, very alone. I felt that I was kind of free falling, because up until that point I always had a parent, if not both of them, and I always felt protected because I had them, and then I didn't. So I just felt like I'd lost my security blanket and I was just free falling.
Bereavement's really hard to deal with. It's also can be a similar feeling if you lose a job or a career.
Yeah.
And quite recently we worked with a group of people on a redundancy program that had been made redundant from very, very high profile and highly paid jobs. And there were some people there that were going, I'm free. I've done this job for 20,
Yeah.
30 years. I've built myself to this level and I've never, ever been able to leave it. All of a sudden, somebody's made that decision for me. I can do what I want now. To other people who are scared, thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? This is my identity. It's my job. It's my life. It's my lifestyle. It's my income. And all of a sudden, I've got to do something different now. What do I do? I've been doing this for so long. I'm now all of a sudden out in the wilderness. And you can see it from both sides. There can be two polar opposites there, where somebody can embrace it and somebody can be really, really scared. And as you say, going back and touching on bereavement, it's so scary when something's thrust upon you that you really don't want and you don't know how to deal with it. It can be really, really scary. So metamorphosis, positive, and also scarily negative.
And they do say that there's different processes within it. And one of them is that we're just talking about that transformation. So you're going from what it was that you were and something has changed, whether you're wanting to change it or something that's happened making you change it. But that transformation is the scary bit. And sometimes you have to almost put your beliefs, your thoughts, everything that you've believed that you were on trial to try and emerge and come out the other side the person that you want to be, or on the path that you want to be. And I think at this time of year, obviously we're 6 months into it, if you're a student at school going through those exams, this is a time where almost you've been working towards these exams, you're in the throes of doing it possibly right now, but once they're finished, you're going to be in that transformation phase of, I've worked towards that all this time, they're done, what next?
It's a time of independence as well. If you're a student doing GCSEs at the moment and you're around about 15, 16 years old, pretty much everything up to this point you've had to do because you've been told to do it. You've got to do these exams, you've got to turn up to school, you've got to follow these rules. Even if you go into the sixth form, and we do a programme called Further Your Independence, where it looks at the transition from regular study, mainstream education, to independent learning. All of a sudden, you're not having to memorise a fact. You're having to write your own opinion on what the task is that you're doing. You have to go away and do your own research. You can't just go and look up the answer or be told the answer. So there's all of a sudden a different stage to learning. But if that sort of scares you a little bit, think that you've gone through a lot of these. And we actually talked in a recent podcast, can't remember which episode it was, but we were talking about changes in life and remembering your first day at school, the first day you ever went to a new school, or the first day you went to the next year group, the first day you met your best friend, the first day you went on holiday, the first time you went abroad or something maybe.
I've got a good one. I like this one. The first time you ever fell in love.
Yeah, the first
Do you
date or the
remember
first relationship.
those feelings?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and then the first time you didn't love that person anymore as well.
Or they didn't love you.
Or they
and
didn't love you.
You got your
heart
heart
broken for the first time.
I remember the first person that broke my heart.
Oh,
I do. And I remember crying. And I felt like I cried forever, but it was only a weekend. But it was very painful. I remember thinking, I'm never doing this again.
But we do sometimes, we see, how are we ever going to get over this? But we go through these things in life. We'll have our first job, we'll have our time we pass our driving test if we do that. And the first time we do something that we're really, really astounded at and think, wow, I did that.
Do you remember the first time that you ever went out in a car and you were driving on your own? Normally you'd have an instructor and you felt safe, and then all of a sudden you're in charge of this car. The panic, the fear. But the fear is what challenges you.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good fear.
Yeah, and if you haven't passed your driving test yet and you ride a bike, remember the first time you took your stabilisers off of it?
Yes.
Or the first time your parent let you go free. It is a thing that we go through in stages in our life. As we grow up and as we get slightly older, we will go through changes that will scare us.
Yeah, and it sort of highlights this idea or the thought that going through painful experiences can actually lead to a more powerful transformation in yourself, because I truly believe that you live your life forward, but you learn it backwards. Remember my dad telling me that, not understanding it, but absolutely getting it, because I think that's part of your transformation is you'll do something and you'll learn from it. Whether it was something that you was good and worked out exactly how you wanted, you're like, great, that's fantastic. It might also be something that didn't work and you got hurt, you got burned. Not literally burnt, but your emotions, your feelings got burnt. But you can reflect and you can learn on that. That's all part of your transformation.
Yeah, and I think before we was planning this podcast, we was talking a little bit about maybe somebody who's gone through addiction or somebody who's maybe been in trouble with the law. there's always that chance to metamorphosize into something else and become a better person by learning from a mistake. So it doesn't always have to be positive, 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 or scary, scary, scary. It is about how you respond to a particular event in life. And whether that event is you deciding to become a motivational speaker because you've seen one on stage, so to speak, as an example, or whether you've had a hard knock in life, like I suffered a brain injury, you went through breast cancer diagnosis and treatment. But it's about how you respond to these knockbacks sometimes. So, for example, we set up Brain or Shine to help people with brain injury. You joined a charity called Breast Friends to help people going through breast cancer.
Again, so just highlighting something that is painful can actually lead to something that is beautiful. And it's all about that personal growth.
Yeah, and I guess when you talk back to where we were talking about a lady going through pregnancy, that's all not always is a beautiful growth, but it also can be quite a painful experience, can't it? Of course. I'm not speaking from my own experience there. So, of course, at the Future Toolbox, we're all about personal growth and personal development. And you can find loads of tools to help you on your journey by going to our website, which is futuretoolbox.co.uk. On there, you can find links to our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. We also have a YouTube channel, and you can connect with us on LinkedIn because we are
everywhere.
So keep thinking about how you can grow a little bit every day. How can you make that step towards your goal? And we look forward to catching you in the next episode.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for the Z2A of Life Skills with Jules and Mark of the Future Toolbox. Don't forget to head over to their website, which is futuretoolbox.co.uk, where you can find lots of free resources, plus a host of books in the store, as well as subscribing to the membership site. Follow Future Toolbox Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Future Toolbox, and subscribe to their YouTube channel too.